welcome back to No One Is Coming. I am your host, Janaia, and I am really excited about this week. And not only this week's episode, but I am also excited about the weeks to come. And I want to use today's episode to set the stage for the episodes that are going to be coming out over the next several weeks. Just to start, a quick recap on where No One Is Coming came from and really the mission of this podcast. So for anyone who doesn't already know, I talk about this in the very first episode, where the podcast came from, like the inspiration for the podcast. It talks about, my journey of becoming a single mom and really just taking control of my life. And that is the mission of this podcast. Where I was then, 7-8 years ago, and where I am now is completely different, but life's a journey, right? So even though I am in a much better place now, there are still things that I want to grow and improve in while here on this earth. It's never really done, and it never really should be done, to be honest with you. We should always be wanting growth and to progress in life. That is actually a key to happiness. There's been a number of studies that talk about that. There's this thing called the hedonic treadmill. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it basically talks about, goods and bads. We have peaks and valleys at an emotional level, but then we end up kind of leveling out. So when something really, really good happens, or if we hit a goal, right, we achieve something, we have this really high happiness, like our happiness spikes. But over time, it kind of levels out. So in order to maintain a state of happiness, it really is imperative to continue to grow. I digress. I'm not going to talk about that, but, this podcast really is about not just my journey, but really partnering with you guys to go on this journey together. I share a lot of the lessons that I've learned, getting from point A to point B, right? Getting from where I was being brokenhearted, insecure, and really just struggling in a lot of areas to where I am now. Again, not completely where I want to be, never really will be, but I am so thankful for where I am now. And I share a lot of that. I share the lessons, and I want to share this part of my journey with you guys as well, right? In the areas that I'm continuing to grow in. So like I said, we can partner and we can really grow together. They say if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So we are in this together, sis. You and me, we're doing it together. Anyways, there are really 3 segments in which I had organized my life during the hardest part of my life that I have just taken with me. And those areas are time, mind, and money. Not necessarily in that order, but I do feel like if you can figure out your time, meaning time management, how you want to spend your time, really having a vision for your life, because whether we'd like to admit it or not, whether we like to talk about it or not, the truth is we do have a finite amount of time here on earth in this life that we're experiencing right now, and to really have a vision of what you want that to look like over time. And time waits for no one. So regardless if you are doing something you enjoy, you love, if you are happy and full, regardless of any of those things, time's gonna keep ticking. Like, you're gonna get older, your kids are gonna get older, the seasons will change, the calendar will flip. It is what it is. So time is really important. Your mind is very important. Your mind is really the key to so much else. Your mental well-being, and not just having control of your mind and kind of having a certain kind of mindset and mastering a certain kind of mindset to be more positive, right? To kind of look at things through a more positive lens. But also just self-awareness. There is so much that comes from self-awareness and understanding who you are, because understanding yourself will help you understand the way that you respond to things, which in turn can change how you respond to things, right? So self-awareness is really, really key in that mind category. But time, mind, and then lastly, money, which we're actually going to start with. We're going to start with money. And that is what I'm going to talk a little bit about today. But if any of you follow me on social media, then you may have seen this week I posted that Q3 is dedicated all to money. I am a personal development junkie. As I mentioned before, progress is a key to happiness. And I like being happy. I want to continue to be happy. And so I'm going to continue to grow and progress in life. That's like my life's mission, is to just always be growing. And they say if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And I'm not ready to do that. So I really invest a lot into my personal development. I read a ton. I'm actually considering starting like a No One Is Coming book club. If anyone's interested, let me know. But I read a lot. And I read a lot of, self-help, personal development, and even memoirs, right? Because I think that we can learn a lot from other people and their life experience, because we're all human. And although we are very different, a lot of what we experience and go through, to a certain extent, is very similar. And so just understanding how other people have overcome hardship or dealt with certain obstacles in life can be not only inspiring, but it can also provide us with some tools and resources too. So I read a lot, but I decided for Q3 to focus solely on money. So all of the books that I'll be reading, it's going to be tailored towards money. And let me explain why. After I just said how important mind is and how it, helps with everything, I decided to start with money because money, although does not make you happier, right? We all know that. Most of us, your life isn't that bad. Your life does not completely suck. Most of us. And I'm not talking about people who may suffer from clinical depression or other things. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and there are a lot of people that are dealing with some really, really crazy, horrific things. And I'm not talking about them, right? Because they have some much greater worries than what most of us, what you and I are dealing with. Most of us, our lives are not completely horrible. And a lot of the problems and a lot of the stressors that we have usually revolve around money. And if they don't revolve around money directly, they can typically be solved with having some extra money. Case in point, I have complained about my job for who knows how long, because I'm not necessarily doing something that I'm passionate about. I'm good at it. It's not the hardest thing in the world, and it pays pretty well. We like to joke that they have these golden handcuffs because it is a decent salary, and because of that, we create these lifestyles around that salary, and then we can never leave. But it's not something that I love or anything like that. And there's a lot of people that I know, because when I complain about my job, I typically complain to other people, and they complain about their job too, because a lot of people just don't like their jobs. And not saying to go and quit your job or anything. But what I am saying is that's a problem or a stressor that we have that really could be alleviated with money. Like, I always like to joke and say, if you won the lottery right now, would you quit your job? Most people say yes. I mean, depending on how big the pot is, right? Like, if you won $10,000, you may not put in your 2 weeks notice. But if you won, $10 million, you probably will. And if that's the case, that's more of a money issue, because you're doing something because financially you feel stuck, or financially you feel bound to this particular job, right? Or just a job in general, maybe in an industry like me, where I'm in an industry that I have to stay within this industry because that's where I built my skill set. So I couldn't just quit and go, do something else in a completely different field. I mean, I could, but Now, I'm not going to be making the same amount of money because I'm entry level and all this other stuff. So a lot of the times that's what happens. Relationships are impacted by money. Even the way that we would like to spend more time with our children, or stressors that come from childcare, vacations, just regular life expenses and living and bills. Those are financial stressors. I saw an article that said between 65 and 78% of Americans, and the reason there's a range is because I guess there's been multiple like studies, I guess you can say, wherever they get these stats from, or surveys in different regions of the country and different whatever organizations doing, but there's 65 is the lowest out of all of the studies, to 78, which was the highest out of these studies, of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And it doesn't necessarily matter what their salary range is. That kind of blew my mind, because paycheck to paycheck means you can't afford to miss a paycheck. And the way that the economy is and the way that life be lifing, that's a scary position to be in. And that in itself really adds stress, even if it's not a direct stress. Because say you're making good money, say you're making over 6 figures and you're living pretty comfortably, but your lifestyle, you're making, $100,000 and you're spending $100,000 every year, right? Then you still have that stress. It may not be an immediate stress because maybe you don't have a concern of losing your job or anything like that, but it does sit in the back of your mind. A lot of us have credit card debt and, just all of these different things, and they do weigh on us. Even if not directly, they weigh on us. Finances, that's a really, really big thing when we think about retiring. I don't know about y'all. I'm 34, so I feel like retirement is so far away, but at the same time, my parents are now retirement age, and I know a lot of people that are in that stage in life now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's crazy because you get there. And when you're paycheck to paycheck, it's really difficult to invest in your retirement or save for your retirement. It's hard to save in general if you are living paycheck to paycheck. So money is a very, very big stressor. And when the rest of your life isn't completely crappy, and that's the big stressor, right, then that's a pretty good place to start. And for me, my life isn't completely crappy. I have 2 amazing, wonderful, healthy kids. I thank God for them every day. I have a really great partner. He's pretty cool. Although I'm not doing something that makes my heart smile every day, I don't have a horrible job. And for the most part, my life isn't completely crappy. I still have both my parents. I have people that love me. I have people that I love. I have a good friend group. I'm pursuing things that I love. Like, my life isn't bad. Okay, I have my health. I can't complain too much, so it's not bad. The biggest stressor in my life is money, as it is with most of you. So I decided to focus Q3 on money. And that's going to be over the next, if I counted it correctly, there are 14 Mondays between July 1st, which is a Monday, to September 30th, which is a Monday. And that is Q3 of this year. And so each week I will be sharing the things that I'm learning about money with you guys so that you guys can implement those things as well. Take what works, leave what doesn't. If something seems interesting and like you want to try, go for it. But that's what really the next quarter is going to be focused around, is money. It's going to be focusing on how to manage it, because that's super important. Before anything else, we got to know how to manage our funds better, because a lot of the reason why we are having the financial stresses that we're having is because, we may not be the best money managers. We may not. We may not really be thinking about it. It's not that we're being completely irresponsible, but it's not on the forefront of our mind. And I know a lot of people like that, myself included at one particular time. I just didn't really think about money. I didn't budget. I didn't really know where my money was going. And if you don't know where your money is going, then you don't know when too much is going in one area and more needs to go into another, because you just don't know. It's coming in, it's going out, and you don't really know where. So managing your money doesn't matter if you got a lot or a little. Poor management means you're going to end up in the same place like 65 to 78% of Americans who are paycheck to paycheck. It's usually a money management issue. So managing it, how we manage it, making it, because it's 2024. And if you're like me, your girl wants to make some more money, okay? We want to know how to make more money. And I am not one for like the hustle culture. I think that is important to have a good work ethic. You know, what you say you're going to do and you're committed to, do those things, do them well. But as I mentioned before, we are here for a finite amount of time, and our time is the most valuable currency that we have. So working extra hard in order to make money, unless it's doing something that you love and like it's a passion for you, I don't recommend working extra hard for your money if you don't have to, which is why we're going to learn about how to make it. We're going to learn about how to make some more money, and not in a super like exhausting way. I believe that success leaves crumbs. You know, there are breadcrumbs, and there are tons of wealthy people in the world, not even in the world, in America. There are tons of people who are making the amount of money that you want to make, and everybody's number is different. There's this thing called a freedom number, right? And that's a number that is going to give you the lifestyle and the time that you want. And everyone's number is different. My number is not even that high. Mine's just like $3,800 a month. That's my freedom number. If I have $3,800 a month, then I feel like I'm in a good place. I'll say $3,800 additional dollars. Then yeah, that gives me what I feel would be the life that I want, and that buys back my time. So a freedom number, and just understanding what your number is, so that we can figure out how to make it. And there's plenty of people that are making an additional $3,800 a month. So it's not impossible to do. And people leave crumbs, right? Which is, again, why we're going to be reading books and we're going to be learning all about these different things. So how to manage it, how to make it, how to grow it, because if your money is not growing just like you, it is dying. As we all know, in 2024, if you didn't know it before, you know it now. Inflation is real. It is a real thing. And the value of the dollar, it just goes down, right? I mean, a dollar is still a dollar, but that dollar doesn't get you what it used to get you, because the value of it is just gone down, right? And that's just how inflation works. And things are going to keep going up. So we want our money to keep going up as well. We want to grow it. So we're going to learn about how to grow it as well. And then lastly, how to keep it, right? Because we can make all the money in the world. I mean, not all the money in the world, but you could hit your freedom number and be like, I did this, I'm in here. And then lose it because it happens all the time. Hence why lottery winners tend to go broke, because they don't know how to keep it. That kind of falls into the money management as well. But I feel like money management is really level one, because you need to know how to manage your money regardless of how much money you have. And then keeping it really comes from once you see the growth financially that you want to see, because we tend to have this like lifestyle creep, where, you know, your money grows and your expenses grow. And then, you know, we end up back at square one, and we end up losing, or we make poor investments. Like, we just kind of get a little reckless with our money. So how to keep it, how to manage it, how to make it, how to grow it, and how to keep it. Now, over the course of really, I guess it's 14 weeks because there's 14 Mondays, there's going to be some information. Like, I'm starting from the ground up. I'm going to be real with you. I'm starting from the ground up. I'm going like personal finance 101 because although there's a lot of things that you may think you know about money until you really learn. Recently, I started looking into stocks and, the market and investing in the market and stuff like that. And at first, I was like, I don't really need to do like stocks 101 because I know the basics, right? That's just going to teach me the basics. I already know the basics. I feel like I should kind of just skip over that. But, the Holy Spirit was telling me, no, girl, do 101. And I listened. And so I was nudged in that direction. I was like, whatever, I'll just start from jump. And so I started with stocks 101. And believe it or not, what I thought I knew about stocks and investing in the market, like I was completely wrong. So my understanding was not accurate. I always thought, like, here's an example, perfect example. And I mean, maybe you know more about stocks than me, but I was wrong about this. So I always assumed that when a stock price went up or went down, that the value of the company was going up or going down. Meaning like Apple, if Apple stock is skyrocketing, then like obviously they're making a whole lot of money. Like maybe they got a new iPhone or a new product or something like that. And the value of the company as a whole has increased. Hence, their stock has increased. And the same thing for when it goes down, right? Like their stock is going down because, maybe they made some bad investing decisions or, they are in the news for something bad and the value of the company has gone down. Like investors in that company are pulling out or whatever, right? The value has gone down. That's completely wrong. That is absolutely not right. The stock price, what I learned, has nothing to do with the value of the company when it goes up or when it goes down. It's simply the equity. So the way that I understood it in my mind is kind of like real estate. You buy your house at whatever price you buy it at, right? And when we have, as some people will call like a seller's market, right? When a lot of people are buying houses, like during the whole COVID thing and the interest rates were really, really low and everybody was buying a home, sellers were able to charge more for their house. So maybe they bought it for $200 and they were able to sell it for like $275. Well, that's equity. The value was still $200. Like they got it for $200. That didn't change, but they got more equity because more people wanted to buy it. So like supply and demand versus same thing. Right now, we're technically in what's called a buyer's market where people aren't really buying houses. So sellers aren't going to get a whole bunch of money for their house anymore because there's more houses than there are people wanting to buy them. And so the equity has gone down. Same thing with stock prices. When a lot of people want to buy the stock, the price goes up because there's a limited amount of shares of that stock. And when don't nobody want to buy the stock because, Elon Musk said something crazy and now Tesla stock has gone down, it's not because Tesla's a company's value has gone down. It's because people just ain't really messing with Tesla right now. Not a lot of people want to buy the available stocks there are. So that was a tangent, but that's just to prove the point that I'm starting from the bottom. And I hope that you guys are willing to start from the bottom with me and just start with learning the basics and building on that because foundation's so important. Having a really strong foundation in any area of life is imperative to having success with whatever you build on top of that foundation. If you have a shaky foundation, if you don't have a really solid understanding of a concept or a thing, then everything that you learn in addition to that, are you even really learning it? Like, do you really even understand? So starting from the bottom, we're going to do Money 101, okay? And we're going to grow together. And I'm really excited. I think when you focus your attention on one thing instead of being so sporadic with things, you're able to make a lot more progress in a shorter period of time. So I'm really excited to see not only my own financial growth, and not necessarily in numbers. Like, I may not make a whole bunch of money in the next 3 months, but I do know without a doubt that when I focus my attention and I learn these concepts and implement what I'm learning, I'm going to be in a much better financial state in 3 months than I am today. And that's proven to be true in every area of my life for like every person ever. Like, when you focus on something, you learn something, you work a particular plan, you do the stuff, you're always going to be better off than you were when you weren't doing it or when you didn't start, right? So I'm excited about that. I'm excited for you all as well. And that's really it. That's all for this week. I just wanted to set the stage for the next weeks to come. It's going to be awesome. Oh, can't wait. So I will see you guys next Monday.
Thank you for tuning in to No One Is Coming. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, remember that you are enough, you are worthy, and you are not alone. Keep shining, girl.